From the clash of ancient empires to the pivotal moments that defined modern nations, battles have served as the brutal yet undeniable architects of history. They are not merely footnotes in textbooks, but seismic events that have redirected the course of civilizations, shattered old orders, and forged new destinies. The echoes of these conflicts reverberate through time, shaping our languages, our cultures, our political landscapes, and the very boundaries on our maps. In this documentary, we journey through time to explore 10 of the most important battles in history, moments when the fate of entire continents hung precariously in the balance, and the outcome forever altered the human story. These are the crucibles of change, where courage and strategy, hubris and despair, collided with profound and lasting consequences. Our journey begins in 490 BCE, on the plains of Marathon, a coastal plain in ancient Greece. Here, a vastly outnumbered Athenian and Plataean army faced the might of the Persian Empire, led by King Darius I. The Persians, fresh from conquering much of the known world, sought to punish Athens for its support of Ionian rebels and expand their dominion into Europe. The stakes could not have been higher: the survival of nascent Greek democracy and, arguably, the entire trajectory of Western civilization. The Athenian general Miltiades employed a brilliant tactical maneuver, strengthening his flanks while intentionally weakening his center. As the Persian center advanced, the Greek flanks enveloped them, creating a double envelopment that routed the larger Persian force. The sheer audacity and success of the Athenians against an overwhelming power sent shockwaves through the ancient world. Marathon demonstrated that a determined, disciplined force fighting for its freedom could defy imperial might, a victory that instilled confidence in the Greeks and provided the foundation for their golden age of philosophy, art, and democracy. Had the Persians won, Europe's cultural and political landscape would have been irrevocably reshaped, likely under an authoritarian Eastern paradigm rather than the democratic ideals that emerged from Greece. A decade later, in 480 BCE, the Persian Empire returned, this time under Xerxes I, with an even larger force. Standing against them at the narrow pass of Thermopylae was a small band of Greek warriors, most famously 300 Spartans led by King Leonidas, alongside other Greek allies. Their mission was not to win, but to delay the Persian advance, allowing the rest of Greece to mobilize and prepare. For 3 days, the Greeks held the pass against wave after wave of Persian attacks, inflicting heavy casualties and demonstrating an astonishing level of discipline and bravery. Ultimately, a local traitor revealed a goat path that allowed the Persians to outflank the defenders. While the Spartans and their allies were annihilated, their sacrifice became a legendary act of defiance. Thermopylae, though a military defeat, was a profound moral victory. It galvanized the Greek city-states, inspiring them to unite against the common enemy. The courage displayed at Thermopylae fostered a sense of pan-Hellenic identity and resolve that proved crucial in the subsequent Greek naval victory at Salamis and the land victory at Plataea, which finally repelled the Persian invasion. It became a timeless symbol of heroic resistance against overwhelming odds, a narrative that has inspired countless generations. Moving forward to 331 BCE, we encounter one of history's most brilliant military minds, Alexander the Great. At the Battle of Gaugamela, near modern-day Mosul, Alexander's Macedonian army confronted the vast forces of the Persian Achaemenid Empire, led by Darius III. This was the decisive engagement that would determine the fate of one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Darius had assembled an army estimated to be several times larger than Alexander's, featuring war elephants and scythed chariots. Alexander, however, demonstrated tactical genius, employing a daring flanking maneuver that created a gap in the Persian lines. He personally led his cavalry wedge directly towards Darius, forcing the Persian king to flee in panic. The ensuing rout was catastrophic for the Persians. Gaugamela marked the effective end of the Achaemenid Empire and opened the doors for Alexander's conquest of Asia. This victory established the Hellenistic age, spreading Greek culture, language, and influence across a vast swathe of the world, from Egypt to India, profoundly impacting the development of subsequent civilizations. In 216 BCE, during the Second Punic War, the Roman Republic faced its most crushing defeat at the Battle of Cannae. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general, a military strategist of unparalleled brilliance, lured a much larger Roman army into an open-field engagement in Apulia, southeastern Italy. The Romans, confident in their numerical superiority, deployed in a dense formation, hoping to overwhelm Hannibal's forces through sheer weight. Hannibal, however, employed a daring double envelopment tactic, often considered one of the greatest tactical masterpieces in military history. He intentionally allowed his center to retreat, drawing the Roman legions further into a crescent-shaped trap. His cavalry then swept around the Roman flanks, sealing off their rear. The result was an almost complete annihilation of the Roman army, with tens of thousands of Roman soldiers slaughtered in a single day. Cannae devastated the Roman Republic, bringing it to the brink of collapse. Yet Rome's astonishing resilience and refusal to surrender ultimately allowed it to recover and eventually defeat Hannibal. This battle showcased the devastating potential of strategic brilliance and profoundly influenced military theory for millennia, serving as a cautionary tale and an object lesson in tactical encirclement. The early 8th century CE saw the rapid expansion of the Umayyad Caliphate from the Iberian Peninsula into Western Europe. In 732 CE, near the city of Tours in modern-day France, a Frankish and Aquitanian army led by Charles Martel confronted the invading Muslim forces. The Battle of Tours, sometimes referred to as the Battle of Poitiers, was a critical moment for the future of Christian Europe. The Umayyad army, well-equipped and experienced, had swept through Visigothic Spain and was pushing north, threatening to conquer Francia. Charles Martel recognized the existential threat, consolidated his forces, and carefully chose his ground. For 6 days, the two armies maneuvered, engaging in skirmishes before the decisive clash. The Frankish infantry, forming a disciplined defensive shield wall, withstood repeated cavalry charges from the Umayyads. While precise details are scarce, the Franks ultimately repelled the Muslim advance, with the Umayyad commander Abd al-Rahman al-Ghafiqi reportedly killed during the battle. Tours is widely regarded as halting the northward expansion of Islam into Western Europe, preserving the nascent Christian kingdoms and allowing the distinct cultural and political development of Europe to proceed without direct Islamic dominion, thereby fundamentally shaping the continent's religious and cultural identity for centuries to come. Fast forward to 1066 CE, a year etched into English history, the Battle of Hastings. William, Duke of Normandy, launched an invasion of England, claiming the throne following the death of Edward the Confessor. He landed his forces in Sussex, challenging the newly crowned Anglo-Saxon king, Harold Godwinson. Harold, having just defeated a Viking invasion at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in the north, was forced to march his exhausted army hundreds of miles south to meet the Norman threat. On October 14, 1066, on Senlac Hill, near present-day Battle, the two armies clashed. The Anglo-Saxons formed a strong shield wall on high ground, initially repelling the Norman cavalry and archers. However, through a combination of feigned retreats that broke the shield wall's cohesion and repeated assaults, the Normans eventually broke through. King Harold was killed, reportedly shot in the eye by an arrow, and his forces collapsed. The Battle of Hastings was not just a battle, it was a conquest. It fundamentally altered the course of English history, introducing a new Norman ruling class, French language and culture, and a feudal system that profoundly reshaped English society, law, and politics. Its impact is still visible today in the English language, which bears a heavy French influence, and in the institutional structures of the United Kingdom. The year 1453 CE saw the culmination of centuries of Byzantine struggle and the rise of a new imperial power, the Ottoman Empire. The siege of Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire and a bastion of Orthodox Christianity, represented a monumental clash of civilizations. Sultan Mehmed II, at the head of a massive Ottoman army, utilized advanced siege weaponry, including enormous cannons, to breach the city's formidable triple walls. For 53 days, the defenders, led by Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, valiantly resisted, but their numbers were few, and help from Western Europe was limited. On May 29, 1453, the Ottoman forces finally broke through, leading to the fall of the city. The conquest of Constantinople marked the definitive end of the Byzantine Empire, the last remnant of the Roman Empire, after more than 1,100 years. It was a symbolic and strategic victory for the Ottomans, securing their control over a vital crossroads between Europe and Asia, and establishing their empire as a major world power. The fall of Constantinople also had a profound impact on Europe, as many Byzantine scholars fled west, bringing classical texts and knowledge that contributed to the Renaissance. It also closed major land trade routes to the east, spurring European powers to seek new sea routes, ultimately leading to the Age of Exploration. Fast-forwarding to the early 19th century, Europe was in the grip of the Napoleonic Wars. The final act played out in 1815 CE at the Battle of Waterloo, near Brussels, Belgium. After his escape from exile on Elba, Napoleon Bonaparte sought to restore his empire. He faced a coalition army led by the Duke of Wellington and a Prussian army commanded by Field Marshal Blücher. The battle was a brutal, all-day affair, characterized by relentless French attacks against the Anglo-Allied defensive positions. Wellington's forces, composed of British, Dutch, Belgian and German troops, held their ground with tenacity. The arrival of Blücher's Prussians in the late afternoon turned the tide decisively against Napoleon. His Imperial Guard, hitherto considered invincible, was repulsed, leading to a general rout of the French army. Waterloo marked the definitive end of Napoleon's reign and his imperial ambitions. It ushered in a period of relative peace and conservative order in Europe, profoundly reshaping the continent's political map and balance of power for the next century. It solidified the rise of Britain as a global power and established the framework for the Congress of Vienna's diplomatic settlements, which sought to prevent further revolutionary upheavals. Across the Atlantic, in 1863 CE, the American Civil War reached its bloody apex at the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. For 3 days in early July, the Union Army of the Potomac, led by Major General George Meade, clashed with the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia, commanded by General Robert E. Lee. Lee, seeking a decisive victory on Union soil to demoralize the North and gain foreign recognition, launched a series of aggressive assaults. The first 2 days saw fierce fighting with mixed results, but on the third day, Lee ordered a frontal assault known as Pickett's Charge, a desperate gamble across open fields against the Union center on Cemetery Ridge. The charge was a catastrophic failure, resulting in devastating Confederate casualties. Gettysburg was the turning point of the American Civil War. The Union victory shattered the myth of Confederate invincibility, ended Lee's hopes of carrying the war into the North, and significantly crippled the Confederacy's ability to wage offensive warfare. It preserved the Union and ultimately led to the abolition of slavery, fundamentally redefining the American nation and its future trajectory. Our final major turning point takes us to the harrowing Eastern Front of World War II, to the Battle of Stalingrad, fought between August 1942 and February 1943. This was perhaps the largest and bloodiest single battle in human history, characterized by brutal urban warfare and unimaginable suffering. German forces, under General Friedrich Paulus, launched an offensive to capture the industrial city of Stalingrad on the Volga River, a strategic objective and a symbolic prize. Soviet forces, initially pushed to the brink of collapse, mounted a ferocious defense under the command of General Vasily Chuikov and later Marshal Georgy Zhukov. The battle devolved into house-to-house fighting, with both sides incurring immense casualties. In November 1942, the Soviets launched Operation Uranus, a massive counter-offensive that encircled the German Sixth Army. Despite Hitler's orders to hold their ground, the German forces, starving and freezing, eventually surrendered. Stalingrad was the definitive turning point of World War II on the Eastern Front. It marked the first major defeat for Nazi Germany and its allies, breaking the Wehrmacht's offensive capability and forcing them onto the defensive. The scale of the German defeat, both in terms of manpower and prestige, was immense, giving the Soviets the initiative and irrevocably altering the course of the war. It demonstrated the immense human cost of total war and solidified the Soviet Union's pivotal role in the Allied victory. As we reflect on these 10 momentous battles, from the ancient plains of Marathon to the frozen ruins of Stalingrad, a clear pattern emerges. These were not mere skirmishes, but epic confrontations where the stakes were nothing less than the future of entire civilizations. Each battle, in its unique horror and heroism, served as a pivot point, redirecting the currents of history, shaping empires, defining cultures, and forging the world we inhabit today. The lessons of strategy, sacrifice, and the enduring human spirit continue to resonate, reminding us of the profound impact that moments of intense conflict can have on the vast tapestry of human existence. The fields where these giants clashed are now hallowed ground, monuments to the enduring power of conflict to both destroy and to forge, to erase old paths and carve out entirely new ones, forever altering the destiny of humankind.